Why did you retire when so many other people don't do that and keep pushing it back a year?
One of my duties at the agency was you had to come through me to leave the agency, whether you wanted to leave for another job, retirement, or whatever. So I would get feedback on from what has happened to such and such. This person, and I'm telling you something. It got to the point where I can know in 5 seconds whether you're going for another job or whether you're leaving to retire. The people that retired, all had a glow. They were literally like kids in preschool, in kindergarten. And you could see the smile. I said, "Oh, you're going to retire." I said, "How'd you know?" I said, "I've done this before."
What I'm doing in this new show, Retirement Reality, is having heartfelt, candid conversations with people who have already retired so you can hear from them what worked well, what didn't, and everything in between. I hope you enjoy. And if you're retired and you want to personally come share your story on a future episode, there's a link right below this in the description of this episode where you can apply to be a guest. Now go enjoy the episode.
Maybe I'm not supposed to have favorite guests, but I don't care because this was the best episode I've recorded, and it's not because of me. I'm just asking some basic questions. It's because of Herb. Wait until you hear this episode. Here's someone who is a federal employee who moved to a state where he didn't know anybody. He was obese, took care of his health, then was diagnosed with an incurable cancer, and he has the best attitude of anyone I've ever met. I'm looking at my entire life differently. I'm literally going to be telling my wife about this all night at dinner, and I cannot wait for all of you to hear this. Please go give Herb some love in the comments as you're watching this video because this is powerful stuff. Enjoy. Herb, thank you for joining another episode of Retirement Reality. What's so fun about these interviews is we just get to have a fun conversation, and I appreciate you being willing to share. Now, I ask all my guests the same question first, which is, if there was one word you would use to describe your retirement so far, what would it be?
Unpredictable.
Unpredictable. Okay, now you can use as many words as you would like to go into why you chose the word unpredictable.
To be honest with you, I had the plan and it has I've been retired this October 31st, it'll be 6 years.
Wow.
So I consider myself a little bit more of an expert than other people. And I'm not trying to say that I'm better than them. It's just that I've been in the game a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And you have this idea of how things are going to work. And you have this plan and you're working the plan and you're like, whoa, that wasn't in the plan. And then that's what happens. That's what's happened to me. And I think because of that, you realize that there's twists and turns in this. And it's really a game called life. I look at it different than retirement. And I'm going to offend your subscribers right now by saying, if you working a job, you are not retired. Now, that's just my opinion. I have not worked. Well, you have people on here that are saying, okay, I'm retired, but you got a YouTube channel that's making money. Okay, then you say, there's a couple, and hats off to them. They've been very successful. They have 100,000 subscribers, and it's a retirement channel. Now, they do give valuable information, but you're not officially working a job. I have not worked in almost 6 years.
You're going to like this one, Herb. I had one couple that I was speaking to. They said, we're retired. We work part-time at the gym, and we're also doing other jobs, but, they don't pay a ton. And by the way, we haven't taken a trip in 10 years. I go, okay, if that's the retirement you want. They go, yeah, we just didn't think this would happen. So it was weird because it was their choice, but I totally hear what you're saying here. Now, I want the whole Herb story. I want to know how it happened. So 6 years, by the way, that's correct. You are a veteran compared to others who have shared, I'm retired a month or 2 months. Obviously, no one's better than, but you're a cool guy. I can already tell. So give us the story. What did you do for a living and why did you choose to retire at the time you did?
Well, I worked 30 years for the federal government in Washington, D.C. I was a program analyst. And I really enjoyed my job. It was very fulfilling, very rewarding, worked for a great team and a great organization. And I remember I was 54 years old and I was just never having a good day. And I said, you know what? I don't think I'm going to make it to 62 in this retirement age. I said, I'm running on fumes here. And I was still doing the job. I was still good at the job. And I just had a moment. And I discovered during this time, I ran into the FIRE movement. And the FIRE movement, for some of your people don't know, most people don't know, is Financial Independence Retire Early group. And I started thinking, is it possible that I can retire? And then one day I listened to this financial advisor that came to the agency. He gave great information. I was on a conference call listening to him. And I reached out to him, Ari, and I went back and I was looking really good. I had my portfolio with him. And then he listened and looked, young guy, 30s, your age, younger guy, you're younger than that. You're, around the same age as you. And he said, Mr. Walker, I like to see you with more money. And I was like, what does that mean? And I wanted it direct. I'm a direct guy. Just tell me I don't have enough.
Yeah.
And to be honest, at that point, I had built a portfolio that is still more than the median of a 55 to 64-year-old.
Right.
I had more than, and I was like, okay. And then he started explaining. He said, okay, I'm saying that because you want this particular life, and this amount is not going to get you to life. So I went and told a friend of mine as far as what happened. And I remember saying this, and I'm talking to myself, and I'm like, you're sounding like a wuss. Come on out here. 3 years, let's go all the way. And so for 3 years, no vacations, just focus on that. And I hit the wave of the stock market, and you can't make this up. In 3 years, with 1 month before I was eligible to retire, I made the goal he set.
Wow.
And at that point, it was, okay, this is supposed to happen. This is going to happen. And then it was more or less, all right, I took the minimum. Now, no one does that. Okay, when you're in the government, the longer you stay past once you become eligible, the more your pension goes up. So I took them, and I was taking a huge pay cut. So it was a lot to consider here. And when I finally did, I did research and everything. And, I realized at that time, I got down to a countdown. It was a website that had the countdown of when you become eligible. And it was fun. It was fun. I was having a good time with this. And then it said September 20th, 8 and 2019 or something like that. You're now fully eligible for full benefits. And all right, that happened at midnight on a Friday night. Sorry, Monday morning at 8:30, I was in the director's office.
Oh my gosh. Why did you retire when so many other people don't do that and keep pushing it back a year?
I think for me, one of my duties at the agency was you had to come through me to leave the agency, whether you wanted to leave for another job, retirement, or whatever. You had to come through me. I was one of the stops. So I would get feedback from what has happened to such and such. This person, and I'm telling you something, it got to the point where I can know in 5 seconds whether you're going for another job or whether you're leaving to retire. The people that retired, all had a glow. They were literally like kids in preschool, in kindergarten. And you could see the smile. I said, oh, you're going to retire. I said, how'd you know? I said, I've done this before. And they all had the same thing. And then, unfortunately, you would hear about them later on down the line. And you would hear a year, person, 2 years, 1 year, either had an illness or died. And that had an impact on me. And that made me realize that, time is short. And, some of these people had really generous pensions. And one person in particular, a lady I knew for 38 years, she had everything planned out to the T. But she wanted to make $90K in retirement, which is kind of generous for a federal employee. She was hooked on that number. And she ended up having back surgery. And then I got a text 3 months after I retired, she had died and not spent 1 day in retirement. And it broke my heart. It really did. Because I saw that could happen to people with the 1 more year syndrome. When you get to 1 more year, you don't need the money. You do not need, it's a culmination of many, many years. You don't need the money. And the only thing I would recommend on the 1 more year is that if you haven't prepared yourself on the lifestyle side, and if you haven't done that, I would say work. I have told people that they should continue to work because they were married to their job. And you're going to get a shell shock if you're married to your job. I will tell people, if you're married to your job and that's all you've known, you're going to struggle in retirement.
What a unique position where you're hearing from people. And I love that in 5 seconds you can go, yep, you're glowing, you're retiring, and other people are looking for a new job. I want to hear about some of these twists and turns that you shared. Hey, this is unpredictable. What are some of the biggest surprises that have happened since you've retired?
The biggest surprise is that the lifestyle side, and that you can prepare for it financially, but the lifestyle things. My only sibling passed away on Christmas night, and that was one of the reasons why I retired, because I said, hey, I get to spend some time with my sister, because I wasn't doing that before, and she was sick before I retired, and it was just, at that point, I'd already knew that it was time to go. And, other things I did that weren't, so as tragic as that, unfortunately, is that I relocated to another state from Maryland to North Carolina. And I relocated during COVID.
Did you have friends?
Yeah.
Did you have friends in community, or you just said, I'm moving states?
I'm moving. So, because that was the plan before. So imagine October 31st, 2019, you're retired. Well, the next March is COVID, right? That's not in the plan. Me and an advisor had planned for me to work part-time, earn extra money because I was taking a huge pay cut. And then now we have COVID. And I'm like, there's no work. I'm not going to work, now at this point, we don't know what to do. So really July of 2020, I relocated to North Carolina, didn't know a soul. Moving away from all my family, first move in my entire life. You can't make this up. This is actually true now. And people are like, he's making this up. No, it's true. And so by that time, I had gotten so frustrated, and I remember the things I was doing. My friends and family thought I was nuts. They said, you're moving to another place, to another state? You don't know anybody? I said, yes. And the funny thing is, I was going to first move to Florida. And then I decided, okay, that's a little bit too far. You have a mom that's still alive. She's at that time 80, maybe 85 years old. I said, that's too far. And then by the time we had COVID, I said, no, I don't want to go that far. I get on the plane and all that stuff. So I moved to North Carolina. It's 4.5-hour drive, 300 miles. If anything happens tomorrow or tonight, I can go there and get there to her. So that was important to me. I moved in North Carolina, and people were concerned too, because frankly, North Carolina doesn't have the reputation for, let's say, diversity, acceptance. It's a very conservative state. But I have Southern family, and my parents are Southern. So I tell people this: grew up in Washington D.C., but I grew up in a Southern family household.
Well said.
So it got to the point where I decided, I literally decided the place that I'm living in, I didn't even see it. Now, baby boomers don't normally do this.
No.
I just went online. He did a virtual, and me and the agent talked for 40 minutes. And he got so comfortable with me, he picked out the apartment. You can't make this up. And I'm like, okay, we're doing this. Because I came down here, somebody said, I came down for a month, for a weekend to look at Carrie. And I found an apartment, but I wasn't in love with it. And I would tell people, wherever you go, be in love with it. Don't be in like with it. And that's when I made the change. And literally, the apartment community, one of the things here, they're really kind of not as, okay, I don't want to say this, but I'll give an example. Maryland, non-smoking everywhere. North Carolina, at that time, you had smoking communities, smoking apartment communities.
Okay, I have to know. Sorry to interrupt her. I'm too curious.
No, keep going.
I have to know what is your day-to-day like at this point? You moved to North Carolina. You don't know anybody. You're not working. No part-time work. What are you spending your time doing?
At that point, I was obese when I retired. And so I needed to work on my health. And I needed to lose some weight. So when I get down here, the first thing I'm looking for is a park, believe it or not, outside of the other things like grocery stores and stuff like that. And when I first got down here, the funny thing is that when I saw the apartment building, the location, I would have never picked it out. So sometimes it's better not to see things. So,
Interesting.
When I came down, because look, I'll give you an example. My favorite dessert in the world is Dairy Queen Blizzard. I'm a big kid when it comes to that. I'm a 62-year-old kid when it comes to that, right? So, but at the same time, I'm trying to get rid of this habit. I'll go out to dinner and then they'll say, let's go to Dairy Queen. And they're like, okay, cool. The apartment is it's a 3-minute walk from my apartment to Dairy Queen. Full service.
Oh.
I was like, this is not going to end well. Is it across the street from a pizza place, a Mexican place, and an Asian place? And you're talking to a man who loves to eat. I said, this is going to be a disaster. So it, what I ended up doing was that I ended up finding a park, started walking, started focus on exercising, and I would meet people. And what I found out about, in the South was that how friendly people are. I mean, I'm going in July and you seeing this black man with a mask and dark shades, the hat. I look like a bank robber. It's like, come on. And people are saying, good morning, good morning. It's like, oh, I'm like, really? And in Maryland, it's lukewarm. I mean, people are nice, but everybody's busy, and sometimes the pleasantries, they don't exchange pleasantries. And I realized I had made the right decision. So my daily, and then I was still transitioning. I was getting used to, and I'm the type of person that likes a challenge. And I still, I had sports, watched TV, and I was trying to get familiar with the area. That was taking up a lot of my time too.
Okay, a few things. Number one, first of all, you look great. Okay,
Well,
so
thank
kudos
you.
to you. Second of all, what I love that you did, and you recognize it, which I think is awesome. You're like, I'm putting Herb first. Your parents are like, Herb, are you nuts? You're moving to a state where you literally know no people and you're retiring early and people you do know probably are still working. So like, what are you going to do? And you're like, yeah, I see that. I'm still doing it. So that's awesome. Number three, I want to know, what were the hours like when you were working for the federal government? Because I've been told from certain people, hey, I want to prioritize my health, but I can't because I'm working all the time. Is that the truth, or what are your thoughts on that?
That's the truth. I had a 75-minute commute to work. And so
Both
that
ways?
was one way. So I was getting up at 4:30, 5 a.m. And you're doing that, and then with the wintertime and everything, you're literally part of the year. You're leaving work in the dark and you're coming home in the dark.
Oh my God.
And so for a person really has to stay focused, and I think that's what happened to me. I mean, that was part of what, I take full responsibility. I was eating like a Tasmanian devil. So it was just horrible. But, federal government workers are really dedicated. They don't deserve the credit we get, that the public, and I know the public is looking at. You're going through what you are right now that I went through. And I was one of the reasons why that was one of the reasons why I retired too, because I was part of one of them that was like 30-something days. And my job was deemed an emergency. Now, I appreciated that. Don't get me wrong. But the reality of what happened was I worked for free. Mm-hmm. And I worked, people say, well, do you want to work 2 days for free? I'll do it. No, I ended up working 30-something days for free. Because what happened was the people who weren't deemed the emergencies stayed home. They had to be home. So when they opened the government back up, all those people got back pay, including me. But they wasn't there for 30-something days. And it was them around. I said, okay, I love serving the American public and I have pride in this. But if I go through this again, this is it weighs on you. And so that was one of my reasons for the decisions at that point, I had already made the decision to retire. So that was like the nail in the coffin at that point.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for your service. I mean, we could not have.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah.
First of all, thank you. And I've never laughed so much in an episode recording this. So this is like a dream for me.
No,
I
want you to laugh because we take life too seriously. I've learned more in retirement. In my job, believe it or not, we didn't laugh.
Was it not allowed?
Well, I called it like we was on the front line, and I don't want to compare it to war. That's not the case. You can't compare it. But agency wise, I worked for the office of the secretary. So I was literally 500, 600 feet from the secretary of the agency.
Wow.
So everybody, all the agencies below us, they all report to us. And I never forget the story where, I never forget the story where a coworker came down. He said, Herb, I really like your agency. I really want to come work for it. I said, you do? I said, okay. They don't have a sense of humor here. We don't laugh. Other than that, come. And he got quiet. He said, no. I said, it's a great job, but it's intense. And my job was unpredictable, but I enjoyed that. And I said, when I retire, I'm going to get my sense of humor back. And it takes a couple of years to get the sense of humor back. And
well, now let's fast forward to today, because I've understood now, okay, so you moved to North Carolina. You said, I'm doing it on my terms. COVID hits. People are being at least nicer. It's just a different atmosphere. Let's fast forward to today. Can you walk us through, and you might think this is dull, but it's not, because people love hearing what a day in the life, meaning what time do you wake up? Are you going out for lunch? Are you taking a nap? Give us the details of like a standard Herb day.
And I think for me, that's the one thing I would encourage people for retirement. For me now, some people want that, but I had that structure when I was working, and I wanted to get away from that. So what I do standard is now, like today, like in the day, I'll get up around 6 o'clock. I can't sleep in. I'm just not that person. I got two Southern parents. They didn't sleep in. So I go, and now I walk, I exercise. I put in at least three miles of walking. And then from there, I'm going to the gym and I go work out. And then I come home and eat. And then from there, it's kind of like, oh, what we'll do today. From that point on. And sometimes it might be, a lot of times maybe watching something sports and everything. And I tell people this now, this is me. I'm more frugal, but not cheap. And I'll explain that. When you retire, you have 40 hours that you were getting paid. Now you're not. You have to be careful. It depends on your budget. Now my budget's a little bit, but it doesn't matter. You could be, if you're used to spending $20,000 a month, and now you're spending, maybe you're spending $20,000 a time, but most people are spending less. You still have those 40 hours that you have to use, and you don't want to overspend. I can spend my budget too. There's enough things to do down here to spend that money, and I have to sometimes reel in. I've learned little things like, hey, I'll go to the movies. AMC has a movie package that you can go to see 12 movies for $28 a month. I get my car wash. I got a car wash, unlimited car wash for $39 a month. I got Audible, $17 a month. And those things, when you start adding that up, you put them in your budget, those things I can do, and they don't cost a lot of money. Now, for me, I love road trips. So when I get into a thing, I'll stay here for a little thing, and then all of a sudden I say, I want to go on a road trip. And one of the things I did when I retired was I took a road trip from Carolina to California for 30 days.
Oh my gosh.
And for me, it was a social experiment too. I always wanted to do it, never did it, but I wanted to see it. I got tired, Ari, of the narrative about America. You hear it on the news and everything, and they're pitting us together. And I said, it can't be this bad. And I grew up in Washington D.C. in the hood, and so for me, I did want that perspective. So my friends, they later told me they were concerned about me. I said, I'm going to do it. So I took my phone. I have Live 360, the app that tracks you. So I had my friends tracking me, and I went from North Carolina to California, and I went to about 11 states in 30 days. And America is a beautiful, amazing country to see. I don't get people. I understand you want to see the world. I would tell people, remember, Europeans come here. And now they're asking us, why are you coming to Europe? You guys got everything here. And that's why I found out why they stay 6 weeks when they travel. They love it because we have a vast of so much variety to see in our lives. And I'd never been to a national park. So imagine the only national park I had been to was Shenandoah, which you can't compare Shenandoah National Park to Yosemite.
Right.
When I went to Yosemite, man, I was blown away. And I tell people that's retirement if you want it to be. It can be curious. Great to have routine because you need that. But also plan yourself to something to look forward to.
Oh my gosh, I'm not allowed to say have a favorite guest, but this is incredible. Herb, I want to go to the financial side a little bit because I'm curious. I'm going to take a wild guess that growing up in the hood, 401ks may not be the number one discussion at dinner. Now, there are certain people that naturally will see, I'll put myself in those shoes of, hey, I'll see certain people who are in a position where it looks like they're financially comfortable and I'll go, I want to be there one day. I just don't know exactly how to get there. So I'm curious, what made you start saving and investing from a young age? Was it a parent? Was it a mentor? What was the reason that you even started kind of this retirement time frame?
Well, one thing, I do have a little bit of financial background. So, I had a degree in accounting and a degree in business administration, even though I didn't use those degrees in my profession. I remember going and coming into the government in 1991 in August. And I remember a co-worker pulling me aside. He was also African American. I guess he saw this young African American guy. He said, look, put your money in, the thrift savings plan.
TSP.
He said, put your money in the TSP and take, do withdrawals. Do withdrawals out your check and don't touch it. Don't ever touch it. And his name was Al Robinson. I thanked him on, social media for giving me that advice because he was an older guy and he was at the point he was watching the stock market every day. We had guys on it in our organization. My organization I walked into was also finance to a certain degree. So there was some finance people. So you had that environment. And people would literally come up to you, have you done this? And one guy would show a statement and you were in that. And be honest with you, Ari, in the African American community, we're not the best savers. And I'm just putting it out there. It's just real. I'm not partial one way or the other. We're not. Of all the races in our country, we're probably the lowest. So I remember being in that environment and keep doing it. And with some regret, I didn't max it out the way I should have. I'm a single guy. I don't have any kids. So I actually made a lot of mistakes. I made financial mistakes. I was in debt. I spent so much money in my 30s and stuff like that. And then I remember that it worked out for me because I just listened to the advice that people were giving me and not blowing it off. Back then, you didn't have the support either. When we came on board, they just gave us a TSP book and said, hey, read it. And we didn't read it. So it was like you said, a mentor just pulled me aside and said, do it. And, I could have had more when I retired, but I'm the type of person, I don't look life in a rear view mirror. Too many people do that. If you were 20, what would you do? Well, I made mistakes in 20. I'm 62 now, so I'm here and it's okay. It's okay.
Think
you don't drive in the rear. You don't take road trip. You take a sneak peek back when something you have to, but for the most part, you keep moving forward.
I love that. Your attitude is so cool, Herb. I think you deserve a pat on the back because for people who look and go, oh, I should have done this differently. It's like, I could have done a million things differently. We're all moving forward and you still retired early. So I think something people think incorrectly is they go, oh, I didn't start saving immediately at 18 perfectly and max my Roth IRA. There's no way I can retire early. You're living proof that you can. I'm curious, how much are you spending per month, if you're comfortable sharing?
Sure.
Because so many people think I need 10 a month or 15,000 a month, or there's no way it's possible. There's other people that are like, well, yeah, I could work 10 more years to be able to do that, but I don't want to do that. So how much are you spending if you're comfortable sharing?
Okay, I think one thing I did was, like I said, the move to North Carolina was also a business decision. Mm-hmm. I knew in D.C., because of what I was getting from my retirement benefits, that was going to be very difficult to afford living in the District, Maryland, Virginia area. So that was one of the reasons why. I saved $600 a month just moving down to North Carolina. And so that was a big thing. So how it worked was, I was getting a pension, and the pension, and so now I'm at the point now where it's like, I did collect Social Security at 62, because I tell people, I said, look, you can do what you want, but tell me when you're going to die. Okay. And then let's say you don't, and you say, well, Herb, I lived to 85. Well, there's a break even point at 78, 79. So you can do it that way. You can't. Now, if you're married, it's a total dynamic. You got to work that out. But if it's just you, I can't will it to my nieces and nephews. If I could, I would say, well, I'll delay it. So right now, my monthly budget is $4,000 a month. My survival budget is about $4,000, and that's that's now, like when I say I'm a unicorn and do things weird, that I've never owned a home. Please don't do what I did. That was a mistake. But I'm a lifelong renter. So I'm renting, and I have a car payment, and it's still less than $4,000 a month with those things. And the car payment's going away, so that'll be an extra money coming in. And my budget is about $8,000 a month. And when I say that part, I'm finally in the 50, 30, 20 budget that I always wanted to be in. 50% going to living expenses, everything. 20% is going to like future trips and stuff like that. And 30% is, hey, what do you want to do? And, do you want to help somebody? You want to do something, for those things. You want to go out to dinner. You want to, I got to pay tax. I got to pay for my registration in North Carolina, 1% of your vehicle every year. Things like that. Those things come up. And I've actually become a better money manager in retirement than I was when I was working.
Wow.
It was like willy-nilly when I was working. Now I track it daily on a spreadsheet. That's boring. I'm like, look, it takes 30 seconds because I'd rather track it what I spent that day than to have to go back to a week. Then I got to figure all that out. It's easy. $77 for groceries a day and $30 for a car inspection for the state. I put that in. That takes 30 seconds.
Easy for you, and it works. And honestly, Herb, I don't know if you're familiar, but there's a trend of more people who are going, yes, I am a homeowner, and people think it's luxurious until I travel. I want to go look at Yosemite and the roof's leaking. Or it turns out all of a sudden I've got to pay property taxes. Whatever it may be, there's pros and cons, and there's more people that are going, with renting, it's flexibility. Imagine you owned a home in Maryland and you wanted to sell and it couldn't sell for whatever reason. And that had tied up a lot of your assets. Well, good luck moving to North Carolina. You just may not have been able to. So there are pros and cons as always. Do you mind sharing a few more of one of my favorite questions is, what are some things other than prioritizing your health that you now have the ability to spend time on that you just couldn't because you were working?
I tell people this, I am the CEO of my own life, and retirement is the best job ever. You don't have to report to anybody. You don't have to ask permission. Now, if you're married, you do got to talk to your spouse about things. And I get that part. But for me, I literally just came back from San Diego, one of the most beautiful cities in the world. And I'm be honest with you, I'm not a high network guy. I'm more of the Trader Joe's versus the Whole Foods. I know you deal with Whole Foods customers, and that's great because they need support. And I would tell them, I said, it's idiotic not to have a financial advisor. And Ari didn't tell me this. A financial advisor changed my life. I would not be retired in the manner fully retired if I did not handle a financial advisor. Because I thought my number was fine, and he was like, it's not. So for me, I tell people this, that it's the freedom to do whatever you want. And those things, this is limitless. One of the things I did, and I didn't start this, as it started out as something to do, but it ended up being a hobby. You see, I have this LA hat on there. I love the Dodgers. But the Dodgers, I am also a ballpark chaser. And a ballpark chaser is an individual who goes to various ballparks, all major league ballparks across the country. There's 90,000 of us on Facebook. And you go to all the stadiums and it's incredible. I've gone to 26 of the 30. I got 4 left.
Oh my God. I didn't even know there was a community that big.
Yeah, oh yes. These guys are fantastic. They're great. We all just talk about our ballpark experiences, and it's a lot of fun. And they've been supportive. You hear the most amazing stories. One lady was heartbreaking, but it was inspirational. Her son, she was married. Her husband and his son, they went to the ballparks together. They ballpark chasers, and unfortunately, he passed away. And then she picked up the chase so they can complete it. So now she's doing it with the son. And so, I discovered my love for the road. There's a Facebook group called 300,000 USA Road Trips on Facebook. There's 300,000 people in that group.
Are you in a camper or you're in your
No.
traditional
I
car?
take my Mazda CX-5. I mean, I tell people that too. I say, do what you want to do. Oh, I'm gonna give me a used car. No, get yourself a new car. I got myself a brand new car that was so new that when I pulled it off the lot, I smelled something burning and I had to call the salesperson. I said, this car ain't got no oil in it. She said, Mr. Walker, it's a brand new car. It had 4 miles on it. The smell will go away once you get to 100 miles. I said, okay. So I get in my car, I listen to Sirius XM, listen to podcasts, and it's one of the most peaceful things that I did. The road trip, that never happened. So I had a job that I really loved, but it was stopping me from doing the other things and enjoying life, and that's what it was doing. And it was preventing me for that. It's great to love what you do, and you should, but there's this myth that retirees don't love their job and they quit. No, the average retiree wants a new life and they want the freedom to do that. And I'm part of a retirement group on Facebook for 5 years. It's 28,000 of us. And we get to talk about our stories. A lot of them, some of them are financial. And I said, look, guys, stop asking financial questions on social media. Go see an advisor. And you'd be surprised at people who actually are expecting strangers to help them with their situation. But for me, it's that freedom. Somebody said this is nothing, but for me it was something. I woke up one morning and I said, "Ooh, it's nice outside. It's a sunny day. Let's drive to the beach." Now the beach is 2 hours away and go have lunch. I literally drove to have lunch right there on the water. Enjoyed it. It was beautiful, and then came back before rush hour was over. Those things you can't do. Those memories that we're going to remember comes with the freedom that you can do. I'm thinking about my next thing I want to do now. I'm actually thinking about doing an Airbnb and going back to San Diego for a month.
Wow. Okay. Well, I have a few fun things to tell you, and then I have a final question. Herb, this is incredible. First thing, I drive a Mazda CX-5. My family has 4 of them. We had a friend
Wow.
come over and go, "Is this the Mazda dealership?" I go, "Nope, just the Taublieb household." We love Mazda so much. We have so I drive a navy Mazda CX-5. My dad has a black one. My mom has a white one, and my brother has a different shade of blue. So we're
Wow.
like Mazda to the core. Now we went with Mazda because we found I'm not someone that knows cars well. I don't love having to get it serviced, and they're so good. So I'm a big Mazda guy. Now, the second thing I want to ask you, did you see James throw out the first pitch at the Padres game?
I thought I saw a glimpse of that. I thought I saw a glimpse of, wow, so James is getting famous.
I know.
He's getting
Okay,
to the
so
point that you can get, that's another level.
that's next level. Okay, here's something I want to harp on because you did a beautiful job of bringing this up. When you retire, you have more time to be the CEO of your life, as you said. But there's another thing that happens that you cannot quantify, which is your health. And there are certain people that will say, "I want to retire early. I want to retire to focus on my health. Yeah, but I've got one more project, or my team's really going to need me, so I really can't leave." And at first, when I would hear these responses, I'd go, maybe they can't leave. I'm not at their work. I don't know. Maybe it's really hard. And then more and more people are saying it, and other people are saying, look, it will go on. Yes, you're valued. Maybe it'll take more people to do your job because you are good at your job, but it will go on. And so it's actually harder to retire because you have to put yourself first, and it's easier to keep working. So what I would love to hear from you, and this is how I like to end the show, is I would request, if you're willing, to share with someone who has not retired yet, who is watching this, who's thinking of retiring in the next 5 years or so, from someone who saw people come in and talk about retirement or leaving jobs, from someone who's living in retirement right now, obviously it always depends on the lifestyle they want to live. But to go deeper than that, what would you tell that person?
I would tell this person this. On April 30th, 2024, I was diagnosed with multiple myeloma, which is an incurable blood cancer. It changed my life. It made me realize not only that, the doctor looks you in the eye and says, you may not live as long as you think you will hope to. And that was the hardest, that is the worst day of my life. And I remember I had fractured my back, had lost 40 pounds, and I was in a rollator, and I was under doctor's orders not to lift 5 pounds. Now, you take that scenario of a doctor looking in your eyes and say, you may not live 5 years. I may not be here 5 years from today. You cannot control the future. None of us can. And I tell people, one of the reasons why I retire is that you're one doctor's visit from your life changing. And it happened to me. Now, I had a guardian angel that took care of me. This lady is amazing. And she took me into her home. And she took care of me to the point that I can get back. This happened in Florida, and I can get back to DC and finish my treatment. Now, multiple myeloma is only 2% of cancers in the United States. It's literally 35,000 people that get it a year. You're talking to a unicorn. You cannot, and they don't still to this day don't know how you contract multiple myeloma. Tom Brokaw had it, and it never leaves you. Now, fast forward here. I'm in remission, even though I kind of laugh. I said, how can I be in remission for incurable cancer? But anyway, I'm in remission, and I'm grateful because I could not walk, and now I'm back to walking 10,000 steps. My apartment's on the 3rd floor. But if I hadn't invested in, even when I was obese, I hadn't invested in working out, what kept me fighting was being retired because I was having such a great life before that. So I fought for my life. I didn't complain. And imagine if you get that and you have been working all this time and you don't know how it feels to be retired and be happy. You might give up when you get that news. I'll take a year. I don't know. The good news is that there's some people, only the man upstairs know. There's some people who have lived 25 years with multiple myeloma, and there's some people, I'm one of, who knows what it's going to be. Doctors deal with problems. But my point is that your job will survive without you. But when you're on your bed, are you going to be thinking about the job, or are you going to be thinking about the things you haven't done? So for me, I feel like I'm playing with house money. I'm actually happier, Ari, than I have ever been, because someone told me that I may not have that much time left. So even this is a whole nother level that you don't have time for. So how do you deal with the money part of it? Do you live for today and spend it all and do a die, or do you do, I like Die with Zero, the book by, I forgot his name. Yeah, but that's my world now. Because there's this part of me says, well, what if you live 10 to 15 more years if you spent the money? But the point is I try to tell people, and that's my passion now. I'm trying to get physically fit enough. I'm going to start calling it Cancer Fit, because you can't see the person. I'm going to get up, and I've already done 12,000 steps today. But last year, I couldn't get out of bed. I was in so much pain. I had to grab onto the dresser just to hold on for support. And so when you take that, and when people say, but the job, really? You're going to really put your personal health and think of it? Oh, I'm physically fit. 87% of Americans are metabolically unhealthy. Okay? That's a fact. So you may be fine. You may be in that 13%, but most people are not. And so focus on that, because at that point, I didn't care the money helped when it came to paying the doctor's bills. And I had the good health insurance, but other than that, I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to live. And so I'm so grateful for that. So I would tell people this, that you will be okay. I have a lot of stories. We don't have the time, but I have not met a person yet that regretted it. The only people that regret retiring are the person who are the workaholics and didn't have anything else. Now that's your fault if you didn't create a life outside of work. But if you created that life is magnified 10 times more, because now you have the time. You're time rich. You don't have to worry about you're rich financially, but you're time rich because you get to do your time. So I would say focus on that, because there was no plan. When I told you unpredictable, this is unpredictable. There's no plan that says, oh, you're going to be in your first 5 years, you're going to deal with COVID, you're going to lose your only sibling, and by the way, you're going to be diagnosed with an incurable cancer. But Herb, you're going to still be around. And if I had known that, maybe I wouldn't be thinking. You find out that you're resilient. You find out that you don't give up. You find out that you have strength inside you when you're faced with a crisis. And I'm back to living independent again. I had guardian angels to help me get back on my feet, but it was up to me to get back. I went against doctors' orders too. I had 2 doctors told me not to go to the gym. And I said, but then I found a specialist. Guess what? All right, this is the last thing I'm going to say. This is so rare to cancer. There's only 200 doctors in the United States that practice multiple myeloma.
Oh my God.
That's how rare it is. But guess what? I found one in Washington, D.C. And she sees me monthly. So that's what you focus on, the gratitude. You don't focus on the negative things that you are. You focus on the gratitude. And I'm in remission. They wanted me to do a stem cell transplant. I said no. Because the guy told me, he said, Mr. Walker, you're 81. You on your grade, I think I'm giving you A-, but we want to get you to an A++. I said, so you want me to do 2 weeks in the hospital? Fine. And then you want me to do 3 months of total isolation from no one, from society, except my caretaker. And then you want me to take immunization starts, because it's a rebirth, like you're a brand new baby. You have to start all over again. And so you want me to do that for a plus, and you think I might live a longer, but you can't guarantee it? I said, no, I'll take the A- in the uncertainty, and I'll let the man upstairs do that. So my passion now, you'll find out what your passion is. My passion now is to get in shape enough that I can look at people and say, you can do it, you can retire, you can work on your health, and cancer is not a death sentence. The most resilient people I found are cancer patients. I've never seen a cancer patient that complained. It's crazy. And the funny thing is, the little joke, when the doctor told me I had cancer, that it was going to, be incurable in a short time, she said, you got to get shots in the stomach. I said, shots in the stomach? I don't even want to go to the doctor to get my blood drawn, and you going to give me shots in the stomach? He said, yeah. And I thought, you're too young for this, but we used to have these cartoons that had the Acme needle. So the Acme needle is supposed to be yay long in these cartoons, and I thought that's what the needle is going to be. So Mr. Walker, we don't do that. No. It was like that. We don't do that.
Herbie, you have
Go ahead.
the best attitude of anyone I think I've ever met. I'm looking at my entire life differently, going, can you believe I was complaining about this or that? I mean, what you've gone through, what you've shared with all of us today, I know I'm not supposed to say it because all my guests are nice, but not only are you my favorite guest, you are changing the way I'm looking at this. I hope everyone who watched this episode goes in the comments, gives you love and the credit you deserve, because this is incredible. Herb, if people want to be able to join a group you're a part of or hear more from you, which I think is going to happen, by no means do I say we put your personal email address out, but what I'm saying is, you've mentioned a few Facebook groups today, so they can join there. Is there any other way for people? Because I think they're going to want to put in the comments, hey, Herb, I've gone through something similar, or here's what I'm going through. Your story inspired me. Obviously, guys, comment below, but should they join Facebook groups you're a part of? What else can they do?
There's so many Facebook groups that are out there, and I think it depends on their journey. I was not a social media person until I retired. And so there are tons of them. In the comments section, I'll read them. So if they say, Herb, can you give me your email address? Not your email, but can you give me your Facebook link? Yeah. And I want to follow you. That's fine. I don't post a lot, but then I'll send them information on on what kind. There's a ton of them out there, and I'll send them information. Heard about, is there any groups for this and any group for that? And I'll do that for you, Ari, because you're one of my favorites. So I'll follow your comments based on what they do, and then I'll respond to it, and I'll give them information, and we can go from there and keep them in touch. And if they want to keep in touch, I'll do that too, because retirement is it's a scary place. It's scary, you have to have courage, and it's the unknown. So I understand where people are coming from. And this is part of my passion. I'll just deal on them. I don't have to deal with them on the financial side. They're straight there. So I can talk about life and other challenges, and if some people deal with illnesses and all that stuff that I've talked about today. So that's not a problem. And I really, like, I'm gonna give you your flowers. So what you're doing here is fantastic, because we need it. Everybody talks about the planning part, but then I'm looking like, okay, I'm 5 years, almost 6 years into this. What information is out there for those people? And those are hard to find, but I have found them on social media. But at the same time, I feel like, Herb, you need to pay it forward, and maybe you're the source now too. So that's what I'm doing, because I'm so grateful, and I practice gratitude, and I don't complain. I tell people I have bad moments, but I don't have any more bad days.
I love that. Do you know how many things you've said that I'm going to steal for the rest of my life? Cancer fit is one of my favorite phrases. That's so cool. Time rich. Oh my gosh. Everyone's always like, oh my gosh, I'm house rich, cash poor. I'm like, time rich. That's what we're talking about now. Oh my gosh, there's so many moments. And the fact that you're like, no bad days, just, yeah, there's moments, because I'm a human, I'm not a robot. But beyond that, what's in my control, that's what I'm gonna focus on. So Herb, I would love to do follow-up episodes with you, because there's
Sure.
so much to unpack here, as long as you're willing. But I'm
Sure.
not interrupting your road trips. I hope you can go to as many games as you want. Yes, James did get to throw out the first pitch, and you kindly shared before we went on air that you were subscribed when I had about, what was it, 5,000 subscribers?
Yeah, maybe even less than that. And I think you would maybe 2,000 or 3,000, and I remember you, and you just caught my eye, because I could feel the passion for what you do come off on the screen.
And you
And
were
I
honest.
could see that.
You said, hey, I didn't know what a 15-year-old like you is going to know.
I
And
was
I
like,
love
man,
that.
this guy. He doesn't know anything about retirement planning.
No.
What is he talking about? He's a freshman in college or something, is he? Or how can he know? And then I listened to the information that you were providing, and I said, he's spot on. And you see so many people on YouTube, and you can tell when people are just there for the subscriber, and you didn't do any of that. You was providing good information and valid information that people need to know, no clickbait stuff. And I really want to congratulate you on your success as the channel has grown and get up there. And I'm going to predict this time next year, you'll be close to 100K.
Whew, well, we'll see. And to me, the ultimate goal always has been, and I've told all of you guys, how can I help as many people as possible, but in the way that I want to, which can feel selfish. But what I mean by that, I'm never going to post a video, here's the best new credit card, or here's travel hacking. Though I'm not an expert in those things, I do not know. I like doing these big healthcare, tax strategy, estate planning, insurance, dividend investing. I like talking about these things that I think move the needle in a big way. Not saying these other things aren't valuable, but if it means I have less subscribers but help more of you specifically, that's my goal, as opposed to having the biggest channel ever. So thank you all for always tuning in. Herb, you are a legend for coming on,
Thanks for
and
having
we
me.
will see you guys next time.
All right. Take care, everybody. Take care, Ari.
If you enjoyed this episode of Retirement Reality, check out how we help people retire with confidence. You can see we have an FAQ section on our website. If you just hover over the resources tab, you can go ahead and see this FAQ section here and learn everything about what it's like to work with us, including our personalized planning process, a quick overview of how everything works. Do you have enough money to become a client? Where will your money be? Everything from tax planning to fees. We are extremely transparent and want to make sure that you're working with someone that resonates with you. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode, and if you once again want to be a guest on a future show so that you can share your story, you can see that in the link of this episode. Thanks.